Hey, everybody, this is Casey right here on Wall to Wall Country on Penn's Peak Radio, and you're hanging out with me on this Wednesday, the beginning of April. My goodness, this year is just flying by. And the tradition has been going on now for over a year here on my show, where we have a very special and honored guest each and every week. Love it, love it, love it. I've had the opportunity to talk to some awesome people, and I am honored and very, very happy to have on board Miss Gwen Sebastian is in the house via a phone call. Hey, Gwen.
Hey, how are you doing?
So I'm just so excited to have you on, and it just seems like when I read about you and I find out more and more about you, you have had quite the career already, even though I guess in some areas it's actually kind of a young career, but you have had some amazing things happen to you, and I'd like to cover some of those things today on the show. But first off, maybe a little background information, where you came from, how you got into country music, who some of your inspirational people were. How about some background on you, Gwen?
Sure. Well, let's start a little while back where I grew up in North Dakota on a farm and a ranch, and where my parents actually still live. And while my dad was getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, he was getting to sleep at about midnight or 2 in the morning because he and my mom were musicians. And so that's how I grew up singing.
Wow.
Is with them. Whether it be for a wedding or for a fair, a bar, maybe when I was probably too young to be in one, but they would let me get up and sing on stage with them. And that's how I grew up singing. So, my musical influences go back to my parents. And there was a lot of country music that was coming through the speakers when I was growing up. But, there was not only, like Trisha Yearwood and Don Williams, Emmylou Harris, but then there was also like Pat Benatar, the Eagles, a lot of, rock influences. I would sit and listen to the top 40 countdown and have my tape ready to tape it while I was playing my Barbies, listening to Casey Kasem. So it was, and then there was Madonna that I wanted to have every costume change possible in my show because of her, or, things like that. So a lot of different influences throughout my life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned Pat Benatar, and I guess people probably best know you from The Voice, from being a contestant back in season 2, being on Team Blake.
Right.
And the time that you actually kind of got eliminated, though, you were fighting against another contestant. And was it a Pat Benatar song that you performed that day?
It was.
Yes.
It was. It was We Belong.
Yeah.
And, that's where the battle rounds is where the coach, and Blake was my coach, he decided to give us a Pat Benatar song, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I love it. I love Pat Benatar, of course, and all this kind of stuff. And then it happened to be the point in time when I got kicked off, so that song is a little bittersweet for me.
But it led to some amazing things. I mean,
it did.
You needed to leave that show in that time frame, because then all but immediately you were kind of gathered into the arms of not only Blake, but his lovely wife, Miranda. That had to be like an unbelievable moment in your life.
Absolutely, it was. And, and that's how you look at things like that. The whole experience on The Voice for me was amazing. From the point of all of the interview process, and then there were more audition processes that the public didn't see. There's a lot of things that go on before you actually get to the blind audition. And then meeting so many of the new, of my new friends are from that show, including my battle round partner, Erin Willett. I still talk to her, and we're still friends. And then, of course, like you said, everything that's happened from that, when Blake had, said that he wanted me to come out and be a part of his band right after I got kicked off, it was such a redeeming thing. I knew I wasn't going to stop singing, or it didn't hinder me from moving on and things like that. But, you get a little sad. You want to keep going.
Right.
But that just completely blew my mind. I had no idea that was coming. And, since basically 3 years ago when I was on The Voice, I've been out touring with Blake and his band and being a part of that. It's been great.
If you were going to give a piece of advice, because I think there can be some true contradiction on people who've been on some of those shows, like The Voice or American Idol or whatever, and they get kicked off and you watch them on TV and they're like, that's it, I'm never singing again. But, then there's other people who've done well that didn't win as well. Kelly Pickler's one of them. She didn't take the title, and she's doing great. Then there's, the Carrie Underwoods in that too. But if you could give a piece of advice to someone who is thinking about doing types of competition or even getting into one of those big national ones like The Voice, what would be the piece of information that you would give them to say, continue, don't continue? What would be good information to give them for them to be able to continue through that journey?
Well, I think the main thing is to be ready for anything that comes. Mm-hmm. I have seen some people that thought maybe just because they were on a TV show that they were going to be a part of the music industry just immediately, and that doesn't necessarily happen. You have to be ready behind the scenes, per se, and have your ducks in a row and be ready, have a website ready, or have some place for people to go that they can come and listen to your music. I think that I was lucky that way, that I've had experience with being on the road with my own band for a long time. I've been on, with them for about 10 years, and I had those things,
right,
and I had that available. So I think that was, part of the reason that I was able to keep on moving forward with what happened on The Voice.
Right.
And then just in general, just advice to give to people that are thinking of becoming a musician or getting into the music industry that way. It doesn't come easy. It's a very long process for a lot of people, and it's you have to work hard. You have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of different things, and that's in a lot of different areas, whatever you're doing in your life. But it's not all fun.
Right.
Most of the time it is, but it isn't all fun. Just be prepared to work.
Right. Well, it's a job. And you got to be prepared, and you got to keep up to the challenge of the job and the changes of the job. And I'm sure with that industry, there's changes going on left and right, and you just got to make the right decisions to keep moving forward.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, it's, you were talking about working hard and being able to, a lot of artists also say true to yourself and do what feels right or whatever. And obviously things are working well in that department for you, as your last self-titled album. It's got some really great music on it. I believe 10 of which you actually wrote.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, by the way. I went into the studio a little bit after I was on The Voice, and went in, and I wanted to make sure that I picked the best songs. So that didn't necessarily mean that was going to be songs that I wrote, but I happened to go back into my, I guess you call it a back catalog, where I was listening to some of those songs, and I was like, you know what, that would be cool to put on here. And I wanted to definitely represent all of my influences of music. And I really think it did that. It's kind of a rockin', swampy kind of sound, and that's who I am. Mm-hmm. And then it's got the little chilled, layback songs where, maybe it's either just talking about a love story or telling a story about how I was inspired by my parents to write a song, because it's called When I'm Gone. Mm-hmm. I was looking at this beautiful land that my parents have, and how it was passed down from my great-grandfather, and it's passed down into the family, and it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be a farmer to be thinking about who's going to take my place and who's going to take over.
Right.
You could be anybody, and so that's the song When I'm Gone, and then it goes into, a song called Farmageddon, where it's just a little bit of a heavier feeling of, hey, don't take what I've worked so hard for, don't take that away. I'm going to put up a fight. It's going to be Farmageddon if you do. And then more of the light-hearted things with a song called Annie's New Gun, which I didn't write. That was actually a song that I had heard a long time ago and was doing live for a while, and I knew I wanted to record. And when I went in to make the album, I had asked if Miranda Lambert would want to come and sing on my album, and she said yes immediately. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy that this amazing artist that I've looked up to for so long is going to come sing on my album and take her time out. And so she sang on Annie's New Gun, and it's kind of a, don't worry about losing your boyfriend. Let's go out and have a party and have fun. There's other fish in the sea kind of song.
Right.
So I think it does represent my live show, and because essentially that's what you want, is you want people to come see you live.
Yeah, and I know that you've done some stuff with Miranda. I'm sure some other memorable moments is when you joined her on her impromptu gig at Exit Inn nightclub in Nashville back in January, where you guys did Girl Crush. That had to be. I mean, how do you even hold a note standing next to her on something like that? I mean, my goodness, I'd be so nervous. I'd forget half the words. I don't know how you guys do it. That's awesome.
Exactly it. That's exactly it. It was so much fun, and I thought that was so cool for her to do that for her fans. That just shows what kind of person she is. But, I've become friends with her, and so I still am in awe that I get to hear her every night, because I'm out on tour with her as well. I'm in her band and singing with her. And I tell her, I say, do you know how good you are? Do you know, because I get to hear her and learn from her every night. And of course she's, so humble and it's like, no, I'm not. And, but it is. It's one of those things where you're standing beside one of the best, and it's amazing. And then that night after we sang Girl Crush, Little Big Town had texted her, and then they were tweeting us, telling us how much they loved it. And so then I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. It's a lot of surreal moments at once.
Kind of pinch me.
That's for sure.
Yeah, little pinch me moments. Am I really awake? Nice. Well, you had talked a little bit about Annie's New Gun, and you have, is it 2 cuts, one with and one without her on this album?
Yes.
Okay.
We had done 2. You just do those things just in case.
Right.
In case I wanted to release it as a single, and that, some of the label politics didn't get involved. We didn't have to deal with any of that. But, yeah, we did it just in case. And, but, of course, I love the one with Miranda better.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we play that one for our listening audience right now and give everybody a listen? Maybe they've only heard, your version. So I think we're going to take a quick moment here and play this song. Now, this is Gwen with Miranda doing Annie's New Gun. It's a great song, and you can definitely hear the 2 voices in it. I mean, you guys are great individual artists, but together you guys just have some great harmony and stuff, but you can definitely tell who's singing what lines. And we're back with Gwen Sebastian, and right before the break, you heard a little something called Annie's New Gun, and of course that featured Miranda Lambert, BFFs of Miss Gwen. You guys are doing some hang time, and that's awesome. We want to get to 1 or 2 other your songs yet, but one more thing I wanted to ask you about, because this had to be another one of those pinch me or wow moments in your career recently when you had the opportunity to be on Saturday Night Live. I mean, come on, that's so iconic. How was that?
Yes. Oh my God! Another moment that I can't believe happened. Sometimes it's funny because all these things are happening, and you just don't take the time to really think about it and be in the moment. And you have to remind yourself that
right.
To remember what's really happening. But yeah, I grew up watching that, and I was the Coneheads and Gilda Radner and I mean all that crazy stuff, and so. Being on that set I was just like a kid. I was giddy, and I think the whole band was, the crew and the cast were awesome at the end of the show. I don't know if you were able to see that, but they were all like moving us up and telling us to go in front of them and, at the end to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. And I tell you what, I think Blake was awesome on it. I think he did a really great job. That is a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't think he slept that entire week.
Wow.
So I don't even know how that cast makes it through the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's a lot of stuff going on, and they change things up to the last minute, literally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that's what makes it fun. I mean, that's what makes it live. You know what I mean? And if you keep that,
absolutely. I guess that does come across that way.
Sure.
And, for how long? 40 years now. It's been going.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I mean, there's not a lot of people who are going to be like, yeah, I was on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Definitely lucky that way.
You know what I mean? And now you can add that to your resume. Yes, Saturday Night Live, check. You know what I mean?
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
So you have a bunch of other great things that you can actually check off your list. And I just want to mention this. One of the things that when people probably know you for, of course, is the tune My Eyes, which was your 2014 #1 hit single, as the crowd goes wild. Good stuff there. But one other song I know you wanted to feature a little bit that is important to you and means something is Throw It Back. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that before we spin that one?
Throw It Back is actually, it's out as a single right now, a digital single, and not on my album yet. I'm actually in the studio going in to make a new project, so that'll be coming out soon. But Throw It Back is out.
Okay.
And it's one of those songs where I went in with my co-writers. I went in with Rebecca Lynn Howard and Sinead Fleener, friends of mine, and I had an idea for the chorus, and then we were talking about the fact that, hey, girls don't necessarily have a party song, and nothing against all the guys that do, and it's just one of those things where, it's always talking about guys, having a shot or having a beer. Let's have a girl song that way. And so that's essentially what it is. It's just, hey, where my girls that time to get down, and throw it back. It's talking about Fireball, throwing back some whiskey.
Wow.
So it really has no great deep meaning, but it is a fun, funky little tune.
Nice. And is there a video on the works for this one?
I'm hoping so. I've already got ideas for it, and so stay tuned for that.
Because, I always love the videos when it comes to the chick songs and the ones that the girls mean business. And I always love the videos because you guys always come up with some great ideas for them. So we'll be looking forward to that. And there you have it. Some more great music from Miss Gwen Sebastian on tour with Blake, BFFs with Miranda, living the dream, already appeared on Saturday Night Live, doing some impromptu stuff, just kind of stepping up on stage with Miss Lambert. I mean, you've got the life going on right now, girlfriend. I mean, it's got to be a blur. It's got to be a blur.
It is. And, again, I have to learn to live in the moment. I think we all do. There's those things that, even being on The Voice, just looking back at that, it's still surreal to me. Like, when I watch it here and see it, I'm like, oh, my God, I was on there.
Yeah.
I did that. And then sometimes I actually get those nerves that I had when I was on, actually doing the audition and things like that. So it's important to remember that this is all happening, and I'm loving it. I wished for it, and now it's coming true.
Yeah. Well, and I got to say, even though you're crazy busy and you're doing this and running here and your life turns into a blur, I also know that you take time out of your day to work with musicians on call. Why don't you tell our listening audience what that's a little bit about?
Well, that's something that I think it's important that when you are a singer and musician that you give back. And basically it's just, going and singing for sick kids and people that are in need of some healing and doing it via music. For me, again, it's not just about being able to sing, it's being able to share it. And so I try to do that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And I think that's neat. I mean, because music is such a wonderful vessel to have people forget about their troubles, whether they're paying $24 or $50 and going to a concert, and for 2 hours or 3 hours, they get to just hear music and they forget about their problems, or for something a little bit more serious, people who are sick and in bed and they're in a hospital and they don't want to be there, for people to remember that they're there other than just family members and take the time. And I think that's incredibly admirable, and I really love that cause, and I'm glad you're a part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So moving on just a little bit, I don't want to hold you up too much longer, Gwen. I appreciate your time, but one other tune that I like to do at the end of my show, remind everybody about the interview, because everybody, of course, this is a Wednesday that we're chatting with her at the moment, but the entire show will re-air coming up this Sunday, with the show kicking off at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, the interview at 9. And at the end of my show, I like to throw out one more tune to remind everybody, if they missed it today, they can catch the entire thing again on Sunday. And one of the other songs off of your new self-titled album is a little something called Suitcase. Am I right on that one?
Yes, yes. And, I love to write songs and love writing about love. And I love writing about, I love writing a good party song, but every girl needs their own revenge song. And so Suitcase is mine.
There you go. So we'll just let the listening audience give it a listen at the end of the show. Remember, it's not going to happen at the moment. It'll be at the end of the show. But you want to listen to this as Gwen's opinion of a kick my ex-boyfriend in the butt song.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Gwen, before I let you go, I want to throw this out for you. We appreciate your time, and anytime you have something new and exciting going on, please feel free to always get back in touch with me here at PPR, and we're glad to have you back on the show. Or if you're ever traveling and you're up here in Pennsylvania, the doors are always open for all my artists. We'd love to see you.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
One more thing. What's upcoming for Miss Gwen Sebastian? Can you let us in on a secret? Can you wink nudge us in on something that's up and coming?
I wish I would have a secret to tell. I really don't. But I'll be out on tour, for the remainder of the spring and summer and fall. And in fact, the entire year. What am I talking about? So
there you go.
Hopefully I'll be coming up into your neck of the woods. And, throughout the summer I'll still be out with Miranda and Blake, too. So it's just kind of the best of all worlds for me is what I'd like to say.
Yeah, put a good word in for me for Miranda, will you?
You got it.
Gwen, if people want to find out where you're touring and how to find you and what's going on with you and your career and your life, what's some of the best ways? Facebook, Twitter, website?
Yeah,
give us some information.
Yep, all of that. It's Gwen Sebastian Music on Facebook, and then on Twitter it's just Gwen Sebastian, and Instagram it's Gwen Sebastian, and then also my tour is up on my website, which is gwensebastian.com.
And most of those you can find also on the Wall to Wall Country Show page until Monday when we switch it out for next week's artist. But if you want to refer to that and friend Gwen and tweet her and all that kind of stuff, and we'd love to have you check out our information as well so we can stay in communique of what is going on with your gigs and your career and all that good stuff. But Gwen, once again, big thank you to you and for taking some time out of your day. We're so proud and honored to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.